Hi, I'm Mary Matt, creator of Twisted Yarns. In this video, I will show you how to transform the Magic Mushroom stitch pattern into a triangular shawl using Yarn Bee's Bamboo-tiful. This is a number 3 sport weight cotton viscose blend yarn, and it requires just a little effort to keep from splitting the plies while crocheting, but the results are just fabulous. Choose at least 3 colors to work the shawl, as this pattern comes alive when an odd number of colors are used. Put the colors in any order, but remember the last color used will continue to be the border color, so make sure that the first color is not the last color too. Otherwise, the single mushroom at the tip of the shawl will disappear into the border. The companion pattern is available through twistedyarns.com. Just follow the link in the description below. And you're going to form a slip knot about 4 inches from the end. Now, we're going to bury this end in right away because I don't like to have to weave it in later. And we're going to chain 4 using both strands of yarn, the yarn tail and the feeder yarn. So now we have chained our 4. At this point, we're going to lay this yarn down along the foundation chain because we're going to work around it and bury it a little bit more. And so we're going to work 1 single crochet, there we go, in each of in the second chain from the hook and in each chain across. Now, I am working around this yarn tail, so there it goes. There we go. So that's buried. We can trim that at any time. Okay, now we're going to turn our work, and we're going to begin our first row. And we're going to chain 6. Now, if you have a little more yarn tail, feel free to chain 6 with using it up. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now we're going to work 2 trebles in that very first single crochet. So how you do a treble is you yarn over the hook twice. So you have the working loop and 2 loops or 2 wraps on the hook. Then you insert your hook, pull up a loop, and that adds a 4th loop. Now you yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. You yarn over and pull through 2 3 times for a treble. Now we're going to do a second treble. Double wrap, insert the hook, pull up the loop, 4 loops on hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that started our edge, and we're starting to do our angle already. Now we're going to do chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. So now we're going to do a cluster in the second single crochet. So we do a cluster by yarning over like we're going to do a double crochet, inserting our hook, pulling up a loop. We have 3 loops on our hook. Now it'll twist around a little bit. Okay. So we have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2. But instead of completing the double crochet, we're going to hold that loop on our hook. So we're going to yarn over, insert again in the same place, pull up another loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Now, see how that yarn splits a little bit? You got to put a lot of tension on that yarn when you're crocheting it. Okay, pull through 2. So now we have 2 parts of the cluster. We're going to do this a total of 4 times. So this is a third one. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. That gives us 4 half work double crochets at the bottom and 5 loops on our hook. So now we're going to yarn over and pull through all 5. That is a cluster. Now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And we're already to the last stitch in this row. And so we're going to work 2 more trebles into that very last stitch. Insert our hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Another treble. Here we go. Into the same space. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now, the fun part is we're going to do a double treble at the end. So instead of doing 2 wraps like that, we're going to do a 3rd wrap. So we have 4 loops on the hook. Insert our hook into that last stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And let's look at what we have. Remember we did the chain 6 over here? A chain 5 would be equivalent to a treble crochet. We want it to be longer than these 2 treble crochets because it's going to have to angle out. That's why we do 6 chains here, 2 trebles, a cluster in the middle, 2 trebles, and then a double treble, because a double treble is equivalent to 6 chains in the chain up. So do you see how nice that edge is already shaping into a shawl shape? Okay, row 2. Row 2 is also done in the first color. And to start it, we're going to turn and chain 1. This is the stem row because that represents a stem. The middle row is all done in single crochets, and it's basically done the same way. In the first stitch, you're going to work 2 single crochets. In the second stitch, you're going to work 1 single crochet, and in the third stitch, 1 single crochet. In the space, you're going to work 2 single crochets. When you come across a stem, you're going to insert your hook in the stitch before the cluster, right here. Pull up a loop, then insert your hook into the top of the cluster, pull up a loop, yarn over, oops, I had a little knot going there, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. It's a single crochet 2 together, or a single crochet decrease over the cluster. So now we're going to work 2 single crochets in the next space, and we're already to the end. So we're going to work 1 single crochet in the first edge stitch, 1 single crochet, I don't want to split this, 1 single crochet in the second edge stitch, and like I said before, this is the chain up. The top of the chain up represents the top of a double treble. So we're going to work 2 single crochets in the last stitch. There you go. Now we're going to turn our work and chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. In the very first stitch, we're going to work a half double crochet. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop. Now you have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. That's a half double crochet. In the very same stitch, we're going to work a single crochet. Now we're going to skip 2, and in the next stitch, we're going to work a slip stitch. That brings us to skipping 2, and we're in that stitch is right above the stem, and we're going to work 7 double crochets, and that's a shell. So that's 1, 2, let me put a little more tension on this yarn, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, there's our 7. We skip 2 and we place a slip stitch in the next stitch. Then we skip to the last stitch, and that's this little teeny one down here. That's our first stitch. And what we're going to do in that very last stitch, we want to make sure that we get under at least 2 strands of yarn in that stitch. We're going to work a single crochet, a half double crochet, chain 1, and then a double crochet. So now we're at the end of this row, which happens to be the end of this color. So we're going to leave ourselves about a 4-inch yarn tail. And one of the tricks I'm going to show you is how to weave this end in. I'm going to do an extra chain 1, and that's going to pull up and disappear into a little knot. But I'm also going to weave this in. But at the end, I'm going to thread up my yarn needle, and I'm going to work down the edge stitch along the edge until I get to this row of single crochets. Insert your needle, your darning needle, under the single crochets. Can you see how I'm burying them? You can see a little fleck of my needle through it. Now if you turn it over, you don't see it on this side either, so you know the yarn will disappear too. And so I'm going to go a pretty good distance on this so that, there we go. I'm going to weave that in. Now you don't want to pull it super tight because you'll pull up this edge. So once I've got that in, I'm going to go a little bit further. And this is important because this yarn is difficult to work with in that sense. It's really beautiful. It's really well worth it. So I'm just weaving my ends in again. And I'm going to go a little bit further. And once I go a little bit further, I'm going to make sure I stretch it out a little bit. But I'm going to come back by stitching under a little bit and catching a few different threads and just back stitch it just a little. That'll help these ends not show up again. Okay, so see how they separate? But as I said, it's well worth using this yarn. The result is just fantastic. Okay, I'm going to pull that up, and I can trim that off now. I'm done with that. Now, if you're going to leave your work, we just ended over here on this side. I can mark that side last worked so that if I put it aside for the evening or whatever, I will not come back to it for the day or so. I want to remember which side I ended on. If you're new to this, you can recognize it because you do have to turn your work to go and do the next row, because it's very important to turn your work between rows. But if you set it aside for a while and you come back to it and you're like, which is the front and which is the back, here's how you tell. The 2 loops of work just done will show up, those top 2 loops will show up as the work faces you. That's the front side of the last row worked. When you turn it over, you will see 1 loop at the top. If you can see what I'm talking about, there's only 1 loop of the upper 2 loops that you can see. That's the back side. So you want to make sure that you turn it. One sure way is to mark the end that you just ended on. Now, right now, I have to go through this a couple different times because this is so narrow, you haven't seen the full stitch pattern. But as we develop more mushrooms, you'll start seeing it's very easy to keep this pattern going. And once you figure out, there are a couple different ways to start the edges. And so when there's these little tabs on the end, this is how you start the next row. And in the pattern, this is what I call row 4. This is where we really start doing the patterns. Now to connect your yarn, you want to leave about a 4-inch yarn tail, maybe 5 inches. I should measure it, but it looks about 5 inches. Pull up a loop in that very last stitch. Then using both yarn tails again, we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to use up this yarn tail. 5. That can come through. That's okay. And then 6. Okay, that's chain 6, and that represents the chain up height for a double treble. Now we're going to work 2 trebles right into the same space. So I yarned over twice, inserted my hook, pulled up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. That's the 3rd time, a treble. Yarn over twice again, insert into the same space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. There's our treble on that side. Now see how that little tail is there? We'll bury that on the next row. Okay, 1, 2, 3 chains, and now we're ready to start our patterning again. That's our edge. And do you see how we need that extra length of the longer double trebles along the edge so that it keeps that shape going? Okay, now when you start out with a little tabby thingy here, like a half shell, it's not really a half shell, it sort of is like a little tab. You're going to chain your 3, and then you're going to work your cluster right into the slip stitch that you put at the base of that chain. Insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. That's the first part of the cluster. We're going to do that 4 times total. That's 2, 3, and 4. Now we have 5 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 5, that completes the cluster, then chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Now we have the top of a mushroom cap to deal with, which is fun because we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. At the very top of the mushroom cap, we're going to work 1 single crochet. Wasn't that easy? Okay, then chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we're back into the little valley between the mushroom caps, although that's the little tab on the end. But we're going to complete this row. We're going to yarn over and work another cluster right into that slip stitch. That's 1. That's 2 half incomplete double crochets, 3 incomplete double crochets, 4 incomplete double crochets. That's 5 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 5, then chain 3. Now we're going to work to balance with this side. So that would be 2 trebles, that's 2 wraps, and we're going to go right into that space and work a treble. That's the space that is formed by the chain up, which is the 4 chains at the beginning of the other row. This is 2 trebles. Now, to balance it off one more time, and if you want to be real particular, pull that back a little bit, expose the top of the chain up, and we're going to do a double treble. Now remember, a double treble is worked by yarning over 3 times, 3 wraps on the hook in addition to the working chain, so that's 4 altogether. Then you go right into that top of that chain up. I like to secure it there. Now I'm trying not to split this yarn because that can be there. I think I have it. Yes, I do. Okay, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. Do you see how that makes that nice angle on the sides? Can you see it starting to shape up? Okay, I don't want to lose this stitch. Put it back on my hook. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Okay, now I'm ready to start my single crochet rows. And the single crochet rows are the easiest because all you have to do is on the very first stitch, place 2 single crochets. Then 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and 2 single crochets in the space. Insert your hook in the stitch before the cluster, pull up a loop, insert the hook into the top of the cluster, pull up a loop, 3 loops on hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. For a single crochet, 2 together over the cluster. 2 single crochets into the next space, 1 single crochet into the top of the single crochet at the top of the shell or the top of the mushroom cap, and then 2 single crochets into the next space. We're doing a single crochet 2 together over the cluster. I pulled up 1 loop in the stitch before and 1 loop in the stitch after, or in the top of the cluster. Pull up a loop and yarn over and pull through all 3. 2 single crochets in the next space. And now we're down to the last 3 stitches. 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch. Now lay that down, do a single crochet, and then in the last stitch, which is the chain at the top of the turning chain, which is right here, we're going to work 2 single crochets. That's 1, and here's our second single crochet. That's 2. And that concludes our single crochet row. So now we're ready for the mushroom cap. We're going to put caps on, and if you notice, we're going to have a cap here and a cap here, and surprisingly, we're going to have a cap here. Oh, but it doesn't, there's no space there. We're going to make it. Okay, so now we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn our work, and in the very top of the last single crochet of the row below, we're going to work a shell, a full shell. So we're going to get under those 2 loops. Okay, there's our 7. Now we're going to skip 2, and we should fall right over the top of the 3rd treble crochet, which we do. And we're going to do a slip stitch in that stitch. And that creates a full shell. But if you pull it out, you'll see how it becomes incorporated right into the edge. You can see that. So that edge is growing nicely. Now, we're going to jump over to the top, to the single crochet 2 together. That's at the top of the cluster. That's 2 stitches over. So we're skipping 2, and we're working another shell. Now we skip 2, and that should place us right over the single crochet at the top of this mushroom cap, and that's where we're going to tie down the mushroom cap with a slip stitch. Do you see how that's forming? So we have 1 more here and then 1 more here to do, and I'll show you how to get and do the ending. Skip 2, and then right above this one, it's working out perfectly, I'm doing a slip stitch. Then I'm going to jump over to the very last stitch in this row, and I'm going to work another full shell. Now that's 7 double crochets, but we're not quite finished. Now we're going to work 1 treble crochet. There we go. Whenever you finish a mushroom cap row, that is going to be your signal to cut your yarn. All right, so see how I marked my side that I have to start on, and I'm going to insert my hook into the end stitch, pull up a loop to add the new color, and chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That little yarn tail will get buried later. I can pull it through. That'll help lock it down, leaving a little bit more. And then I'm going to work 2 treble crochets in the same stitch. When you're doing this pattern, it's how you begin the rows that makes the difference. So I did my 2 trebles. Then I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now because I have a full mushroom here, this row starts a little bit differently. I just jump over to the top of it, 1, 2, 3, 4, and work my single crochet. How easy was that? Then I chain 3 more, 1, 2, 3, and then between the next 2 I start the cluster. Now let's look at what we did, because this is the big difference on these rows. Now I'm going to chain 3 more and jump over to the top of the next mushroom cap and do a single crochet, chain 3, and then I'll be ready for the cluster over there. But on this one, when we started this mushroom color, we did the 3 stitches at the beginning, chain 3, and a cluster right away. This time we did the 3 edge stitches, chain 3, and a single crochet right into the middle of the mushroom cap, because the mushroom cap was on the end. Down here, the little tab was on the end. So you're going to be alternating these throughout. That's why you have 6 rows of patterning. It's not because this part changes. This is all the same. It's how you do the beginnings and the endings. So let's work across this, and I'll meet you when I get here. I'm approaching the last mushroom cap. So I'm going to find the center and do a single crochet in the top of that mushroom cap, in the center of the mushroom cap, then chain 3, and now I'm going to finish by placing 2 trebles in that last stitch, and then a double treble. That's 3 wraps. So we have 4 loops on the hook. Insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. That finishes that, and that's what makes that match this side over here. Now we chain 1 and turn, and we work our 2 single crochets to start off, 1 in the next, each of the next 2 edge stitches, and then 2 into each space, 1 into the top of the single crochet, and then 2 into the next space. And then, of course, we do a single crochet 2 together over each cluster, just like before. I'll meet you when I get over here. And now we're going to start our next row. Now remember, this is a mushroom cap row, so in this case we're going to have to build out a little tab. So we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. In the very first stitch we're going to work a half double crochet and a single crochet. But now we're getting into the pattern. And on this tab, unlike this first tab, this one is a little bit of an exception down here, because we have only 1 mushroom to worry about. Then we start our increases. That's just to get us going. But up here, we're going to work our tab. After we do our tab, we're going to skip 2, and in the stitch that's above the last edge stitch, we're going to work a full shell, or 7 double crochets. 1, 2. So we have our little tab and our 7 double crochets. Then we slip stitch into the top of the stitch that's above the single crochet, to tie down the mushroom cap, and then we jump and skip 2, and we do another mushroom cap over this one. 1, 7. Now we're going to slip stitch into the top of the stitch above. We're skipping 2, 1, 2, slip stitch into the next stitch, which is right above the single crochet, and then we're going to jump over to here. We're just going to skip 2, and that should put us right above the edge stitches, the first of the edge stitches, and we're doing 7 more here. 1, 7. Okay, then we're going to 1, 2, and in the very last stitch we're going to work our little tab. 1 single crochet. That single crochet on the end ties down the shell, and then a half double crochet, chain 1, and then a double crochet. And that concludes our shells across the row. So we have 2 tabs on the end, and then we start with our row 4 again. This is row 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we repeat this sequence of rows all the way until we get as wide as we want it to be. Now we do not want to end with the linen color. We want to end either with white or the mist. And I'm actually ending with mist. So I'll show you that in just a minute. Thank you for watching this video. In part 2, we will complete the shawl by adding a very easy edging that perfectly complements the mushroom theme. See you then! Please take a moment to subscribe and ring the bell to receive notifications of upcoming videos. Happy crocheting!